Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Journey Becoming a Head Coach. As always, I'm your host, Jeff Freeman. And in this edition, I kind of split up. I started really, diving deep into this, and I just realized it's probably going to be a really long video if I try to do this all at once. So this part's, we're moving into season 2. So it's Coaching Through COVID, part 1. For those of you that don't know, again, I'm a head varsity football coach in California. And as of right now, California has not yet had the 2020-2021 football season. We are still waiting to have that. But I'm going to kind of give you a prelimps into what we dealt with, how we handled it, and how we are continuing to handle it. So by the time we get to part 3, which part 3 will basically be to where we are now, part 1 is going to cover primarily from the rumblings and the beginnings right until summer. Part 2 will cover summer through December. And then part 3 will cover pretty much everything we're dealing with now as far as we're looking at. And do not look for any kind of like political pieces to this. I'm going to try and keep it strictly factual, strictly events, strictly what we did and how we handled it. No matter your viewpoints, no matter what, it's a serious disease. It's caused a lot of health and physical, social, emotional, and a lot of mental issues and challenges that we've all had to overcome. So no matter what you think, whether scientifically, whether politically, whether whatever you're leaning towards, I'm just going to basically share our journey through it, what we did, how we pivoted, and things that we kind of created to kind of get our student athletes through a lot of this. So again, Coaching Through COVID, part 1, here we go. So end of the season, for those of you that were there for my end of the season review, we ended, in November, ended up 3-7. Disappointing season, but we had a lot of things looking up as far as where we're going. Right around October, we started hearing and started seeing things in the news about the rumblings of a new virus in China, a new coronavirus, a new SARS, and I lived through the swine flu and all that stuff back in H1N1 and the avian flu and all those crazy flus that kind of came out. And the one in 2009, which primarily attacked younger individuals. This one we were hearing, at the time we were kind of hearing everything, that it was a really severe respiratory virus, and it was really difficult to handle. So it had not yet, at the time we had heard it, it had not yet hit California or the United States. At the time we had not heard of anything. Full disclosure, in October I probably had the worst flu I ever had, which is kind of interesting as the symptoms kept coming out. And they were like, oh, well, one of the big key differences if you lose your sense of smell or taste. And by the time that came out, I was trying to remember if October, if I had lost my sense of smell or taste back in October of 2019, because that was the worst flu I've ever had. It knocked me on my butt. I was done for almost close to a week. It was horrible for me. But again, I don't know if that was COVID or not. I have no idea. But in any case, that was the worst flu I ever had. But we started hearing rumblings around in October. Kept hearing about it in November. December, at that point, I was trying to staff. My initial thoughts were, again, I was like, well, if it gets here, it gets here. We'll handle it like we've handled every other virus that's hit California and hit the U.S. We'll work through it. We'll do what we can. That's just kind of what I initially thought. I didn't really have any concerns looking at it or hearing from it. I just didn't at the time. I didn't really think that what has happened would happen. So my initial thoughts were, we'll just handle it like we've handled every other virus that's kind of come through. I mean, there might be some little changes, but nothing too big that's going to concern me. So my concerns were very minimal at the time in between November and December of 2019. December to February, like I said, I was working on staffing. I was attending webinars, clinics. I was trying to do everything under the sun. I was trying to really build up the varsity and freshman staff. Our JV staff was fine. They had 6-7 guys. They were good to go. Our varsity staff only had 4. Really 3 when you kind of eliminated me from most of the time. So as a head coach, I was trying to deal with some of the other things. So really, there was like 3 coaches at the varsity level, which is really rough. So really trying to focus. By the time February hit and March hit, I had us up to 7 varsity coaches. I had up to 4 freshman coaches. So it was looking really promising. It was looking great. Everything was looking fantastic. Went to the San Francisco clinic for Glazier, really good clinics. Attended a bunch of webinars through their Vault system. And then honestly, I just went down the wormhole of YouTube and just started kind of looking through it. anything that we were doing offensively, defensively, special teams, I was going down the wormhole, just trying to pick and prod, pull things that we could use. So I consider that, clinicking, trying to go through and then calling some other programs, seeing what they were doing. And then obviously meetings, having meetings with coordinators, having meetings with coaches, talking to them, how things are going in that route. That was pretty much December through February. And again, hearing rumblings about it, but again, not really giving it much thought until February, where really, we'd had those first documented cases and things were starting to go up. And then you started hearing about the death rates. And you started hearing some scary stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is going to be a little bit more serious. So, in my head, I'm like, all right, well, what are we going to do? So I started taking it more serious, but still in the back of my head, I'm like, you know what? Even if we, shut down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, I was like, we'll get back to normal. We'll be fine by May. And that's what I kept telling myself. We'll be fine by May for spring ball. We'll be fine for June for summer ball. We'll be fine to have our season as normal. Little did I know. March 16th hits, school's closed, and the famous saying you see all the time on memes and people that kind of want to give, everybody kind of, garbage about this thing. They're always, oh, 2 weeks to slow the spread. We're at day like 100, something, something, or we're at week 20 or whatever it is. So, I mean, everyone's kind of now dogging on that. But, I mean, that was the original idea. And at the time, I was 100% behind it because, we didn't know a lot about it. We didn't have a lot of data on everything. So here we are. We're all jumping into distance learning, and we're all like, all right. And as a PE teacher, head coach, I'm like, all right, let's go for this. Let's just dive in. I mean, I've been using Google for a while. That's fine. I can do Google Classroom. That's cool. So I didn't feel that scared moving to distance learning. Honestly, the only thing that was worrying me was trying to do like Zoom meetings and meet with kids and have conversations. And not only that, as a coach, like there's something different when you get to see a kid in person, especially when it comes to grades. And you can have that face-to-face conversation with them about, okay, how are your grades doing? How's life? How's this? How's that? It's just a different overall feel. As we get to part 2 and 3, as I discuss that a little bit more, it couldn't be more true just as far as having that face-to-face interaction, seeing the kids' grades go up and down based on what we're doing. So distance learning, I mean, as a PE teacher, as a football coach, it was crazy. From March to June, it was just a whirlwind. It was like, okay, let's just try and keep the kids on pace. Let's try and keep them motivated. Let's keep things, let's try and end the year strong. So I didn't really see any of my classes. Obviously, we just did Zooms. We did workout logs. We did activity logs. We did all kinds of things as far as my PE classes were concerned. Task sheets, and of course, like task sheets, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, well, you can either record yourself, you can send me the video if you want, or you can just watch yourself, grade yourself, and let me know how you did. I mean, we did some task sheets, we did some Screencastify, which is what I'm using right now. Became a really good tool to kind of put up lessons beforehand, either on YouTube or things like that. And that's what kind of sparked this idea for me to kind of do this, was all the Zoom meetings and Screencastifies and coming up with these presentations and all that stuff. Otherwise, I had been thinking about trying to actually do legitimate clinics, but I was like, well, let's try some of this YouTube stuff. But anyway, distance learning, again, it was a whirlwind. It was a cluster, and you can't say the word mandatory. I'd learned that as a football coach, you can't say mandatory. And then all of a sudden you got a teacher saying, well, this is mandatory, this is due, that's due. And then all of a sudden every time I kept hearing stories about, you can't say this is mandatory, you can't call, you can't use this for attendance, you can't do that. And this was across the board. This isn't just my school. This is other schools that I talked to. The attendance thing was just a cluster. The trying to collect stuff on time, everything, even just getting kids online, getting them Chromebooks, stuff like that. So many schools I talked to, from within 10 minutes with us, within 45 minutes, just all across California, we're just having issues with this stuff. And I think as of right now, I think most of us can agree that the distance learning project, while it's getting better, it's just not where it needs to be to help our students and our student athletes really reach their goals. So workouts. So this is one thing I did want to share with you guys, just something for you to see. So this was what we kind of put together as far as our workouts and things like that through athletic conditioning and things of that nature. So we had stuff through gym access. We had stuff through non-gym access. We had things through unorthodox equipment. So this is like if they had gym access, we were giving them squats, single leg RDLs, SL glute bridges, and this is what our trainer pretty much came up with for us, and it was fantastic. It was 4 days a week, 5 days if they want, hit their arms and do something really good. But this was the stuff we basically gave to them and say, hey, if you got a gym access, if you're able to go, or if you got equipment at home, here's all the stuff you can be doing. We attached videos to them on the back end. So we had everything kind of settled for it. And then again, if they didn't have that, say they only had unorthodox equipment. So we had stuff like unorthodox equipment like sandbag squats, push up with backpacks. I mean, we tried to be as creative as we possibly could with it. Same thing, and then they had no equipment. Bulgarian split squats each leg, double leg land, SL LDLs. We tried to come up with everything for them. So then that way, again, like I'm saying, everybody got hit. Everyone was able to stay in shape and keep pushing themselves. And then obviously a reward system for those that, for my football players, I was able to kind of say, hey, look, if you can provide me proof, they want the little helmet stickers. I was like, all right, if you can provide me proof, I'll give you some helmet stickers for if you're able to complete these, daily. I'll give you a helmet sticker per week if you're completing these and stuff like that. Not knowing at the time this was going to go a lot longer. I'm thinking in myself, I'm like, okay, it's going to go to the end of the year. So that's like, what, 8 to 12 weeks. All right, cool. We'll be, that's 8 to 12 stickers, cool, whatever. That's not going to cover their helmet. Now, if I continue to do that, some kids' helmets would just be covered just because of their workouts. So, again, trying to come up with a reward system, trying to come up with shirts, stuff like that for them to do, will just keep them motivated. So, these are just some things that, again, our trainer came up with, our athletic trainer, along with conversations with myself and our strength and conditioning coach at the time. That was also one of our PE teachers. We kind of pieced this together back in March, April, technically really March and April, and then a little bit of May and June, because then we had to kind of keep adding to it. So, and again, we had the gym access piece as well. So, sorry. So here we go. We had our workouts, and then we move on to April. So we're still in distance workouts. I'm trying to do the awards system, having meetings, huddle meetings, or having Zoom meetings with our players. I technically did those on either Wednesdays or Fridays. Didn't try to do them too long. Didn't try to do them too crazy because I didn't want my guys burning out because they were already doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that. Try to go over the offense, try to go over the defense, trying to go over special teams. And right around here is where we really started hearing rumblings that the CIF was looking into something as far as some ideas. And there were some crazy ideas getting thrown out. There were some ideas getting thrown out about essentially, we're going to go ahead and just flip fall and spring, because at this point spring was shot. So like baseball was done, track was done, tennis was done, some golf was done, diving and swim was done. So all these things got canceled. And they were like, okay, well, let's try to make that up and let's try to have their season go first. And that was a lot of different conversations from different. Again, I'd heard it at different states. I'd heard there was rumors that it was going to happen in California. I just kind of sat back. I'm like, okay, well, let's just see what happens and what they say and what they do. I mean, it's only April. I mean, the season doesn't start until August. We still got time. So again, in my head, I'm giving it concerns. I'm starting to get worried. I'm starting to figure out, okay, well, what's going to happen? And they're going to cancel our season. What's going to happen there? So, and at this time, our players are still doing pretty good on the distance workouts. They're focused. They're going. The award system didn't gain much traction, to be honest, whether I tried T-shirts or stickers. Not too many students were sending me stuff saying that they were doing it. So the accountability piece was a real struggle for me. But at the same time, there were so many other things I was worried about. It was kind of haphazard, to be brutally honest. It was one of those things I was like, looking back, I'm like, if I was going to do something, I should have went full on in, had a conversation, showed them what to do, and said, I was like, hey, if you show me some proof, you can get awarded with this. So it wasn't well put together, in my opinion, on my end, and that's on me, which is why it probably didn't work. I didn't put a lot. I thought it sounded like a good idea at the time, and not only that, I thought it was a good short-term solution to something that I thought was going to be short-term. It was not short-term whatsoever. Huddle became a really good tool for us. Again, you got practice scripts, you can attach them to the film, so when you click on a play on your playbook, then all of a sudden, boom, it can take you to the actual play you're showing. So that was good. I'm trying to have them learn and understand the mistakes we made last year, where we could have got better, where we still need to get better, and things of that nature. May and June, there's a push to start spring ball. Waiting for information from the top down. I mean, I don't know. I mean, every time I talk to somebody at this time, and I'm going off my notes on this, it just seems like everyone's kind of passing the buck to the next person. So I was like, and I hated having to do it, but it was so true. But it was one of those things, a player or a parent would come ask me, I got to wait for, my admin. And then I'd ask my admin like the week before, and they're like, well, we got to wait for the district. The district's got to wait for the county health. County health's got to wait for the governor. So it was just this trickle down thing where everyone was waiting for somebody to say something, and it was just totally passing the buck. And it's not like it's anything negative. It's just that's how it was. This was so new. Everyone was just kind of crazy. And 2 weeks turned into 10, and no schools and no sports and activities. It just to me, it got out of control way too fast. But that's 100% opinion on that front. But it just got so out of control. As far as just everything got shut down, everything got taken away. And again, we didn't have a lot of science, so we're just kind of going through this like, okay, well, we don't have a lot of science, so we got to err on the side of safety. At this time, it did appear like it was mainly at the time, and what I'm saying at the time, it seemed like it was mainly hitting, like what most flus and some of these viruses do is they attack people that have comorbidities. They have things going on. They got lung issues. The elderly, it always hits them hard. It looks like that what it was. It looks like that was what it was attacking at the time. Again, I'm going off what I saw at the time. This is not trying to push one thing, one or the other. I'm just telling you the facts of what I saw and how I went through it. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe we'll get some more science by May and June, and maybe if anything, maybe we just miss spring ball and we're going to summer. So there was a push to start spring ball all the way through all the schools that I was talking. Everyone was trying to push it. It never happens. It never goes through. We just kind of sit back, and again, we just continue with the Zoom meetings. We continue with the screencastifies. We continue with the PowerPoint presentations, the Google Slide presentations, the huddle presentations. And again, every time, when we try to ask, and I was trying to be on top of it. So every time I could, I would jump on the CDC website. I would jump on anywhere I could get info, and I try and share that with my parents and players. That okay, these are the trends we're seeing. We got to wait for so and so to hit us up and let us know. Just trying to keep my parents as updated as possible, because it is a scary situation, not knowing like, okay, well, what are sports doing? What are we doing? And I feel like I got a lot of kudos for that lately, and I'll cover that in part 2 and part 3. But I don't know how much a lot coaches, admin. I don't know how many a lot of people communicate. I was trying to communicate on a weekly basis, just as far as where we're at, what we're looking to do. I didn't want to bombard people with too many stats, because then, of course, someone interprets this stat for that. So I was just trying to say, hey, these are where the numbers are at. This is what's gone up. This is what we're hearing. I was like, if you want to look at it, here's the link. I didn't ever like copy and paste any of the info on it. I said, hey, here's the link. If you want to look at it, go for it. So again, there was a lot of waiting from the top down. What was, you had governors waiting for Congress, the Senate, and the White House to do something, and then the White House or whatnot. Everyone was kind of waiting for something, and we never really found out who was waiting for what. Of course, again, not getting into that discussion of who screwed over who or what political party put this hole, but I'm just saying it just seemed like to me like there was a lot of biding the time and waiting for somebody else to make the decision rather than someone just stepping up and saying, look, this is what it's doing. This is what we need to do. And we're going to do this. And if it doesn't work, then we're going to pivot and we're going to do that. There wasn't a lot of that. It was just, hey, we got to wait for this person. Hey, we got to wait for that person. And that was, again, from the highest of the land, from presidency all the way on down. And that, again, that's 100% opinion. I'm not saying it was any one district or any one government or anything. I'm saying it was everybody at the time, everybody in every district, every county, every state, every level of political seating was just kind of passing it off and say, well, I got to wait for this person. Or I got to wait for that person. And again, I get it to some degree, because you don't want to be that person that says, this is what we're going to do, and someone gets sick or someone dies, because then everyone's going to look at you and it's going to be your job. So I do get that. But at the same time, part of me sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, there was a time, and here we go. There was a time. Yeah, there was a time where people just made decisions, and if something happened, yeah, we would, talk to that person, be like, hey, well, why did you make this decision? And we would hold them accountable for an explanation. But nowadays, holding someone accountable means someone's got to get fired, even if they made the best choice possible in the position they were in. If it ends up harming someone or anyone, or God forbid, someone dies, But if no one did die, someone just got sick, I mean, now you just, hey, we need to hold this person accountable. He said that we need to do this, or she said we need to do that, and we were going to be fine. Someone got sick. So we need to hold them accountable. And that's the same thing in all your social media things. I mean, now it's like you say something 15 years ago, someone looks it up, and we need to hold them accountable, which basically means you got to get fired. That, to me, does not mean holding someone accountable. I mean, addressing what they said, how they said it, why they said it, what's the context, and then going from there, but not just saying, hey, you said this 15 years ago, you're fired, or this was a horrible decision, why'd you make it, you're fired. Well, at the time, it was the best decision. And to me, that's what, government officials, that's what coaches, teachers, parents, that's what you do. You are decision makers. You have option A, you have option B. Are there any variables that could make A and B into C, D, and E? No. Okay, so I got these two options. I'm going to pick this one because this one's the best one. Here we go. To me, it seems very cut and dry. But again, everyone was kind of waiting for someone else to make a decision, pass the buck. And I'm sorry for that little soliloquy there. It went a little long. But again, just kind of trying to really kind of set the stage for what I felt was going on, not only in California, but across the nation, because everyone was kind of waiting for somebody to make a decision. While some states were moving forward and doing things, other states were sitting back, California being one of them, we were sitting back and just saying, hey, well, you know what, we need to wait for so-and-so to do something. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it right now, just because of, again, time and whatnot. I'll show you. And the reason why is because part 2 is going to take a long time, because with the pods, the cohorts, the changes, the CIF announcement on July 20th, that's a lot of information that I want to go through. So I want to take my time and make sure I cover it in as much detail as I can. So part 2, again, will come out next week. This was part 1. This was just me, the initial concerns, the initial everything moving forward, and just kind of what May and June felt like to us. So look out for another video on Thursday on some scheme stuff. And pretty sure I'm almost done with special teams. If not, I have finished special teams. So I'll look and see what I got on my schedule for Thursday. Again, thank you for the support. If you learned something, share it. If you like it, subscribe, comment. Let me know. If you got questions on how I handled certain things, let me know. But again, be great, push limits, hold the line, and have a great day.